It was the Monday following Thanksgiving in 2019. In Ansonia, Connecticut, snow had fallen the day before, but the roads had been cleared so that residents could get to work without delay. However, one of the local daycare teachers had not yet arrived. Rosie, the daycare owner, was worried. Her employee, 43-year-old Christine Holloway, was never late, let alone missed work without notifying anyone. Colleagues tried calling her, but there was no answer. Her family also didn't know why she had missed work. By 1 p.m., Rosie contacted the police and asked them to check if Christine was okay. An officer drove to her home on Myrtle Avenue. Christine's apartment was located on the second floor above a 3-car garage. The officer noticed that 2 windows were open, which was somewhat unusual given the freezing temperatures outside. There was no sign of movement in the house and no one answered the door when he knocked. Everything appeared normal from the outside. Seeing no immediate reason to break in, the officer left. However, a bit later, Christine's concerned brother and sister-in-law contacted the police. The couple had called her boyfriend, Jose Morales, who said he had seen Christine that morning at 7 a.m. when she was leaving for work. Given that she had never arrived at her job, police officers returned to the house around 8:15 p.m., and this time, they decided to break down the door. Once inside, they noted that the home was very clean and tidy until they walked into the bathroom. There were also many children's items around the home. Christine was the mother of a 14-month-old girl named Vanessa, who was nowhere to be found. Police immediately got to work. Detectives brought in Christine's boyfriend and the father of her child, 48-year-old Jose Morales, for questioning. At the time, Jose was unemployed and living in the basement of his mother, Lydia de Jesus, and stepfather, Marcos Garcia, in Fairhaven. He already had 2 children from a previous relationship, Isaac and Isabella, who lived with him during the weekdays. Jose typically spent weekends at Christine's home in Ansonia. Jose told detectives he didn't know where his daughter was. He claimed the last time he saw Christine and Vanessa was when they came to his parents' house for Thanksgiving dinner on Friday, November 29th. Since then, he said, he had only spoken with Christine on the phone on Monday morning. Odd, because to Christine's brother and sister-in-law, he had said he saw her that morning when she was leaving for work. This wasn't the only inconsistency in his story. The second concerned Christine's car. Jose told investigators that she drove a gold 2002 Mazda Protege, but in reality, she had replaced the Mazda with a black 2017 Ford Focus about a week earlier, a fact known to both her family and Jose, who had even helped her choose the new car. Yet somehow he had forgotten this detail. On top of that, Jose downplayed their relationship, telling police they weren't that close and were connected only through their child. After about 40 minutes of questioning, Jose grew tired and said he wanted to leave. Police asked him to surrender his clothing for forensic testing. He was visibly displeased by the request, but complied. Officers immediately noticed a bruise on his chest, scrapes on his knuckles, and swelling on one side of his face. Police drove him back to his mother's house. They knew time was critical, and finding Vanessa was their top priority. They needed leverage to pressure Jose into talking. In this case, the leverage was his parents. In the presence of Jose's parents, police informed him that his girlfriend, Vanessa's mother, was dead. Lydia screamed and broke down in tears, while Marcos rushed to comfort her. Jose covered his face with his hands. A detective explained that Christine had been found dead in the bathroom of her home and that baby Vanessa was missing. It was crucial, the officer stressed, that Jose clearly state when he last saw them. Jose once again claimed he didn't remember, even though he had either seen Christine and Vanessa that morning or he hadn't. The police couldn't understand how he could forget what he had done just a few hours earlier. Finally, he settled on saying the last time he saw them was Friday, but Lydia interrupted, saying Jose had FaceTimed her over the weekend from Christine's house. Jose admitted he had only pretended to be there. He didn't want his mother to know he had actually gone away for the weekend with a friend named Hector. Meanwhile, forensic investigators continued working at the crime scene. Christine's body was found naked in the bathroom of her home. She had been brutally beaten, primarily with blows to the head. The murder weapon was not found in the apartment. At first glance, the house appeared very clean, but forensic experts discovered traces of blood on the walls, carpets, and even on children's belongings. Almost all of the blood spatter was concentrated near the spot where Vanessa's crib stood. Someone had clearly tried to clean up the crime scene. Wet cloths were found in a bucket, and inside a disassembled drain pipe, investigators found bone fragments containing Christine's DNA. The trash bin was full of empty beer bottles, yet no alcohol was found in Christine's system. However, strands of hair were discovered in her hands, likely ripped from the attacker's scalp as she fought for her life. That meant police had the DNA of a likely suspect. Based on the crime scene, the attack appeared to have begun just steps from Vanessa's crib, where Christine collapsed. She was then stripped and moved to the bathroom, where officers later found her. The autopsy revealed that she died from blunt force trauma to the head. She was struck at least 8 times, possibly more. The coroner received her skull in fragments due to the savagery of the assault. 5 of her ribs were also broken. Christine was likely killed either late Saturday night or early Sunday morning. Police quickly determined that many of baby Vanessa's belongings had also gone missing, along with the child herself. That's when help came from a local church donation center. One of the workers noticed blood-stained items that someone had placed in the donation bin, located just 3 kilometers from Christine's home. Among the items were a diaper bag, a bloodied towel, children's shoes, and a pair of adult sneakers. Fortunately, along with the items were letters addressed to Christine Holloway. The employee was curious enough to search the name online and discovered that Christine had been found murdered. She immediately called the police. Analysis of the blood-stained items confirmed that the blood belonged to the victim. Meanwhile, police officially declared Vanessa missing. The FBI offered a $10,000 reward for her safe return. They stated that no charges would be brought against whoever had the child. Their priority was simply getting her back to her family. Authorities also reported that 4 key items were still missing. Items Christine and Vanessa used every day, but were found neither at home nor in the donation bin. These included a brightly colored baby blanket, a teething ring, a Graco infant car seat, and a gray Eddie Bauer backpack. Meanwhile, on December 3rd, police conducted a search of Jose's parents' home. Among the man's belongings, they found 2 stun guns. Jose was taken into custody because he was legally prohibited from possessing weapons, as he was a convicted felon. He had previously been charged with fraud, drug distribution, and violating a court order. While under the influence of illegal substances, he once pinned his ex-girlfriend to the floor and threatened to break every bone in her body, even though she already had a restraining order in place prohibiting him from approaching her. After learning these disturbing details about Jose's past, Christine's family expressed regret. Although she had mentioned his substance abuse issues, she had never spoken about domestic violence. Still, they admitted if she had, they would have immediately urged her to leave him. Detectives continued to verify, or rather disprove, Jose's statements. He claimed he had spent the weekend with his friend Hector and had called his mother using a tablet. The tablet, which Jose shared with his son, was confiscated. It didn't take long for forensic experts to confirm that the call to his mother had, in fact, been made from the tablet, while Jose was at Christine's home on Myrtle Avenue. Police managed to locate Jose's friend, Hector Rodriguez, from New Haven. Hector initially confirmed that Jose had spent the entire weekend with him. However, when detectives started asking for specific details, like why Jose had called him on Monday afternoon, Hector grew nervous and was unable to explain what they had talked about. Eventually, he admitted that Jose had asked him to cover for him if anyone asked where he had been. In reality, Jose had stopped by Hector's place briefly on Saturday and Sunday, but spent most of the time elsewhere. Hector didn't know where. The evidence against Jose was snowballing. The owner of the house where Christine lived told police he often used the garage below her apartment as a workshop. In the past, he had never heard anything unusual, just footsteps. But that weekend was different. He heard loud noises, like someone moving heavy furniture, loud enough to be heard over his power tools. Another neighbor saw a police car pull up to the house around noon on December 2nd, the first time officers came to check on Christine after Rosie grew concerned and called the police. The officer knocked, looked around, and left. About 20 minutes later, Jose was seen exiting the house he claimed he hadn't been in. He walked to his car, then went back inside, appearing to carry something. Soon after, he drove away. That very evening, Christine's body was discovered. FBI investigators confirmed that Jose's phone had been in the area of Christine's home on the day of her death. In his vehicle, forensic experts found a black trash bag with red stains that turned out to be blood. Blood was also found on Jose's sneakers, and his hairs were discovered in Christine's hands. Finally, surveillance footage captured a Nissan Sentra matching Jose's car leaving Christine's home at 6 a.m. on December 1st and heading toward the church donation bins. But there was still one puzzling detail the police couldn't explain. On December 1st, the day before Christine's body was discovered, at 1:52 a.m., Jose made a call to 911. During the call, Jose mumbled the words, Myrtle Avenue, the street where Christine and Vanessa lived. However, he didn't give a house number, and when the dispatcher tried to clarify, he didn't respond. Then, a woman's voice could be heard in the background saying, "Stop, hang up, who are you calling?" Moments later, the call was disconnected. A patrol officer was dispatched to check Myrtle Avenue, but the street appeared quiet, and police had no way of knowing which address the call came from. Be that as it may, there was more than enough evidence collected. In February 2020, Jose Morales was charged with murder and evidence tampering. Bail was set at $5 million. The prosecution offered Jose a plea deal, but he refused and preferred to have his case tried in court. Christine's relatives did not object because they believed that justice would prevail. The trial began on April 7, 2025. Jose was not charged in connection with Vanessa's disappearance, but this information was allowed to be used in court despite the defense's objections. Jose decided to take the witness stand and speak in his own defense. The defendant told a completely new story that seemed to clarify many points. According to him, on December 1st, he was at Christine's house. He was in the bathroom when he looked out the window and saw some people running toward the front door. Jose called 911. He also wanted to jump up and close the door, which had been left unlocked after he went outside for a smoke. However, he was under the influence of illegal substances and couldn't move quickly enough or tell the dispatcher the exact address. Meanwhile, the men burst through the door, approached Jose, and hit him in the face and chest. He fell to the floor and lay there while the kidnappers grabbed little Vanessa. Christine rushed to protect her daughter. She fought with the kidnappers. One of the men hit Christine 3 times on the head with a crowbar. He was angry and swore loudly. Jose added some horrific details. For example, when the man was hitting his girlfriend, something was leaking from her head and splattering around. Jose tried to do something, but he was too drugged on illegal substances. All he could do was scream. Then the killers threatened him that the same thing would happen to his daughter if he went to the police. Jose admitted that he cleaned up the crime scene, got rid of the evidence, washed the blood, and even moved Christine's body to the bathroom. He wanted to dress Christine, so he threw her clothes into the washing machine. This was Jose's version, which the prosecutor saw as clearly inconsistent. Jose claimed that unknown men hit Christine on the head 3 times with a crowbar. However, the forensic expert counted at least 8 blows to her head. Moreover, Jose had no explanation for why the men left him alive, the witness to the kidnapping and murder, while deciding to kill Christine. Furthermore, the police did not believe that Jose's mind was clouded by illegal substances. Due to the large number of empty bottles found in the trash, they suspected that he was simply drunk. Supporting this view was the fact that he cleaned the crime scene and then got into a car to drive to the church parking lot to dispose of the items. He could not have done this under the influence of the illegal drugs he supposedly took. These substances last about 8 hours and affect a person so strongly that he would not have been capable of performing even basic actions. The prosecutor showed the jury messages exchanged between Christine and Jose before her death. Jose accused Christine of infidelity, insulted her, and even wrote that their relationship was over. Christine replied that she loved him, had no one else, and that he should not give up on their relationship. These messages helped the jury better understand the character and temperament of the accused. He was controlling and jealous, and considering his history with a previous girlfriend, also aggressive and dangerous. The jury deliberated for 2 hours and found Jose Morales guilty. He faces 25 to 65 years in prison, with sentencing scheduled for July 8, 2025. So, the jury decided that Christine was killed by Jose, not by some mysterious unknown men. But one question remains. Why did he call emergency services before killing the girl? Was he not in his right mind and afraid he would do something terrible and wanted help? Was it a tactic to mislead the police? And who was the woman whose voice the dispatcher heard in the background? Jose claimed it was Christine. The prosecutor and the police also believe it was her. But is that really the case? And the most important question, did he kill Vanessa? And if so, why did he take only her body? Was it because it was easier to hide? According to the police, Vanessa is still alive. Detectives reviewed surveillance footage showing that on the day of the child's kidnapping, Jose left Christine's house several times, but never for more than 2 hours. Moreover, Vanessa's belongings disappeared and were never found. Therefore, detectives believe Jose handed his daughter over to some friend or acquaintance. The belongings were likely needed to care for the girl initially. The police also found no evidence that she was taken out of state, but they checked the man's relatives in Puerto Rico to leave no stone unturned in their efforts to bring the girl home. She would be 6 years old now. The police shared an age-progressed photo of what Vanessa might look like at this age. Now that Christine's killer has been punished, her family can fully focus on searching for their granddaughter and niece. Jose stubbornly refuses to say where his daughter is. But it's much easier to believe she is being raised by strangers than to accept the thought that her own father killed her.